Good evening and welcome to the Connecticut Department of Transportation Public Information Meeting for the installation of Centerline rumble strips. This project intends to install Centerline rumble strips on eligible roadways throughout Connecticut that will be resurfaced in 2026. Tonight, we will be presenting specifically on the need for Centerline rumble strips in Roxbury on Route 317, as well as highlighting the safety benefits that come with its installation. My name is Yi Lo, and I am a project engineer at the Connecticut Department of Transportation. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us. We hope our presentation will be informative, and we hope to answer your questions and concerns during tonight's question and answer session. By the end of tonight's meeting, we hope you will have a better understanding on the importance and the benefit of installing Centerline rumble strips. We ask and would greatly appreciate it if you can fill out the very brief feedback survey at the end of the presentation that is located on the project's webpage. The survey will help CTDOT improve this public meeting going forward. Again, the project webpage is portal.ct.gov/DOT 2026 CLRS-Roxbury. There is also a civil rights flyer that's available. The website for that is portal.ct.gov DOT Equality Title VI. I would like to reinforce that no person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. This is the same civil rights flyer as before, but in Spanish. At the end of the presentation tonight, there will be a question and answer session through Zoom Q&A. You can also ask a question by sending an email to DOT 2026 CLRS-Roxbury@ct.gov or by leaving a voicemail at 860-594-2020. The comment period will be open through Thursday, March 19th, and you can send an email or leave a voicemail until that date. We also have a project webpage which contains this information on how to provide comments or ask questions. A recording of tonight's presentation, including the live event Q&A, will be stored at portal.ct.gov CTDOT VPIM archive. If you are viewing this presentation on Zoom, you have the option to view captions or subtitles for this presentation. To turn on this feature, select the CC button at the lower right corner of your screen to turn on the captioning. Then choose the language by selecting Setting Up word chevron next to CC button. Select the speaking language and select the desired ones. Our presentation will be approximately 20 minutes, and once it is completed, we will host a live question and answer session. As I mentioned, you will have 3 ways of communicating with us during the live Q&A. One method is to ask your question directly into the Zoom event. You can ask a question by clicking on the Q&A icon at the bottom of the meeting page and type in your question in the pop-up window. If you are an audio-only participant, dial *9 to raise and lower your hand. I would now like to introduce those from the department who are participating in this meeting. Natasha Fatou is the State Safety Engineer for the State of Connecticut and the Principal Engineer of CTDOT's Traffic Safety Unit. Blanche Sok is a Supervising Engineer at CTDOT's Traffic Safety Unit and is the Project Manager. Shane McLean is a Transportation Engineer at CTDOT's Traffic Safety Unit and will be monitoring this presentation. Vincent Moulin is a Transportation Engineer in the Safety Engineering Unit and will be monitoring the project email address and calling voicemail for any questions or comments during live Q&A. Once again, I'm Yilo, a transportation engineer at CTDOT's Traffic Safety Unit and also the lead project engineer for this project. I will be the primary presenter for tonight's meeting and also answer questions at the end of the presentation. The agenda planned for this meeting will have us go through the project description and the purpose of this project, as well as objectives that we hope to achieve. Then we will give a thorough description of what centerline rumble strips are and why centerline rumble strips are a good countermeasure for this roadway segment. Next, I will discuss the installation process of centerline rumble strips. Lastly, we will go over the cost and timeline for this project before we wrap up everything with the live Q&A discussion. The Connecticut Department of Transportation will resurface Route 317 Good Hill Road from Route 67 South Berry Road in the town of Roxbury to Meadowbrook Lane in the town of Woodbury. In Roxbury, the section from about 160 feet east of Painter Hill Road to the Roxbury and Woodbury town line, a total length of 2.3 miles, was identified as being a candidate for the installation of centerline rumble strips. The map is only showing the sections in Roxbury. The surfacing section is showing in black, and the candidate of CLRS installation is shown in pink. Centerline rumble strips are discontinued at intersections with public streets because vehicles use the intersectional area when they are turning into and out of these side roads. What are centerline rumble strips? Centerline rumble strips are grooves within the bow yellow centerline that produce sound and vibration inside the vehicle when the tires come into contact with them. The sound and the vibration alerts the driver that they have departed from their lane and gives the driver an opportunity to recover. Centerline rumble strips are different than the grooves along the edges of cities' interstate highways. The grooves for centerline rumble strips on secondary roads are not as deep. CTDOT has now started installing centerline rumble strips with a wave-patterned sinusoidal profile that produces a quieter sound than the traditional version outside of the vehicle. Both the traditional and the sinusoidal versions of centerline rumble strips are pictured side by side. The department goes through a screening process based on FHWA guidance to determine centerline rumble strips eligibility for each road, including taking a look at traffic volume, making sure that the average daily traffic on the road is at least 2,000 vehicles per day, ensuring that the pavement is in good condition and less than 3 years old. The roadway is to have a minimum of 14 feet of width from the centerline to the edge of pavement. This makes sure that there is plenty of room for drivers to maneuver without going over the centerline rumble strips. The roadway generally has a posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour or greater. Lastly, there should be a low residential density. If there are some homes along a segment, we try to ensure that the majority are at least 100 feet from the edge of the road. Here is a clip from CTDOT's informational video about centerline rumble strips. For the video, interviews were conducted with the state police, a Yukon traffic safety expert, and a town official regarding the benefits they have seen from CRS. The full video is available at CTDOT's YouTube channel, CTDOT Official.
The biggest causes of head-on collisions seem to be distractions inside the vehicle. As a result of that, people leave their lane of travel, they drift over into the opposing lane, and then strike the other vehicle. When you combine the movement of one vehicle and the movement of another directly striking one another, the force is multiplied.
The centerline rumble strip are grooved pavement that is placed along the center of the road that provides tactile information to drivers if they're leaving their travel lane, crossing over the center line. They get a vibration and a sound to alert them that that's what's happening, and it has them correct back into their travel lane.
The process of installing the rumble strip was great. The work was done at nighttime when there's less traffic, and before you knew it, the rumble strips were in. We've noticed a lot less traffic fatalities, a lot less head-on collisions, so the rumble strips actually help quite a bit when it comes to distracted driving.
Why do we use Centerline rumble strips? Crash statistics from 2022 to 2024 in Connecticut showed that roadway departure crashes accounted for approximately 480 of the 950 total fatalities, or 51%. The Federal Highway Administration has identified Centerline rumble strips as a proven safety countermeasure to address head-on and sideswipe opposite direction crashes. Therefore, in an effort to reduce this number, they recommend the CLRS to be installed in all eligible locations. When driven upon, the audible and vibratory warning greatly improves the chances that a driver will quickly and safely return to their lane. A wavy, sinusoidal shape is used, a design which reduces noise outside of the vehicle opposed to the traditional design of Centerline rumble strips used previously. Centerline rumble strips also have the additional benefit of helping drivers navigate during poor weather conditions such as fog, snow, and rain, when pavement markings are obscured. Centerline rumble strips are an example of a proven safety countermeasure according to the Federal Highway Administration, along with the other countermeasures shown on this slide. Additional information can be found by Googling proven safety countermeasures. CTDOT's Safety Engineering Unit also has an informational website, which provides additional information specific to Connecticut. In 2024, there were 28 fatalities and 1,800 injuries from head-on and opposite direction sideswipe crashes on non-freeway city roadways. Centerline rumble strips help reduce these types of crashes, which could be attributed to distracted or fatigued driving. Around 42% of people injured in crashes associated with vehicles crossing the centerline were ages 20 to 39. In a 2024 study, Connecticut roads saw a nearly 20% decrease in roadway departure crashes after the installation of CLRS. Looking at motor vehicle crashes on this segment of Route 317 in Roxbury from 2020 to 2024, there were at least 3 crashes that involved vehicles crossing centerline, because they were either drowsy or likely distracted. All crashes resulted in either property damage or injuries. This data is publicly available from the Connecticut Crash Repository at citycrash.uconn.edu. The point of the Centerline rumble strips is to reduce the possibility of these types of crashes. It is also important to note that near misses are not recorded, so they may be happening, but there is no information about them. Centerline rumble strips are a highly effective, low-cost proactive treatment intended to reduce lane departure crashes, and will aid in continuing to keep these crashes from happening. Additionally, per other studies around this country, Centerline rumble strips can reduce head-on crashes by as much as 50%, run-off-the-road crashes by 46%, fatal crashes by 51%, and serious injury crashes by 41%. There are approximately 43 states across the country that use Centerline rumble strips. including all the states in the Northeast U.S. Connecticut started installing Centerline rumble strips in 2018, yes, and showed the line rumble strips on limited access highway since 1994. Connecticut has installed over 500 miles of Centerline rumble strips on state roads and over 90 miles on local roads, with more being proposed every year. Lastly, there is a link to a video titled Rumble Strips, The Sweet Sound of Safety, which is a short YouTube video uploaded by the Federal Highway Administration and will be available once the presentation is posted online. It can also be found on YouTube by typing in the underlined keywords. As you can see on this map, as of the end of last year, the majority of towns in Connecticut have had Centerline rumble strips installed. And the town shown in blue already has Centerline rumble strips, whether it's on a town or state-owned roadway. And towns in orange are programmed to have them installed. And towns shown in white do not currently have Centerline rumble strips, but this will likely change in the near future as additional roads are repaved. Here is a map of CLRS in Roxbury and the surrounding towns. The existing CLRS is colored in blue, and the proposed CLRS for this project is shown in pink, including Route 317. The average cost of installing Centerline rumble strips is about $1 per linear foot. This means the total cost of the Centerline rumble strips is approximately $13,000 for the proposed segment on Route 317. The cost will be covered by 100% state funds, so there is no cost to the town, with construction anticipated to take place during next year's construction season. These are just a couple of pictures taken from construction, showing part of the milling and the grooving process. Construction vehicle work and travel at 2 to 3 miles per hour to install the Centerline rumble strips. The work is done during non-rush hours, and the Centerline rumble strips and the centerlines are painted shortly after. And with that, I want to thank you for your time listening to our presentation. And now it's time to hear from you in your live question and answer session. Remember, you can use the Zoom Q&A to send us live questions. You can also email us any questions or comments via the project email addresses or leave a voicemail message on the calling phone line. We also want to encourage you to take our very brief feedback survey to help us improve how we deliver these virtual public information meetings. Now, do we have any questions from the email, voicemail, or the chat for us to answer?
Yes, we do. So thank you, first Eve, for that presentation. We have a couple of questions from the email that we wanted to cover. There's a couple of individuals that wrote in opposition to the installation of CLRS on Route 317, Good Hill Road. Just to cover some of the points that were emailed to us, the first point / question was that crash data does not represent the specific risk profile sufficient to justify their environmental threat.
Yes. In those emails, the 3 individuals wrote to oppose the installation of CRS on Route 317, Good Hill Road in Roxbury. So they wrote, crash data does not represent the specific risk profile sufficient to justify the environmental threat. So yeah, we have looked into the 5-year crash history from 2020 to 2024 for this section of Route 317 in Roxbury. So there were, as I mentioned already in the presentation, at least 3 crashes that involved the vehicles crossing Centerline because they were either drowsy or likely distracted. All crashes resulted in either property damage or injuries. So one additional crash actually involved distracted driving. It is also important to note that near misses are not recorded. Also, per other studies around the country, CRS can reduce head-on crashes by as much as 50%, run-off-road crashes by 46%, fatal crashes by 51%, and serious injury crashes by 41%. So we are proposing CRS as a low-cost safety feature proven to reduce the possibility of these types of crashes. If it even just saves 1 life or keeps 1 crash from happening, it pays for itself. So the department in recent years has taken a proactive approach to trying to prevent the crashes from happening rather than a reactive approach, which is fixing the problem after a crash has already happened. So in those emails, the second point is Route 317 Goodhill Road has a 30 mile per hour posted speed limit. The state guidelines mention a 35 miles per hour threshold for installation. So 35 miles per hour post speed limit is the guidance. It's not a hard rule. We do take into consideration the operation speed of the road segment, which in this case is 39 miles per hour based on 2025 data. Even so, the posted speed is 30 miles per hour. So other nearby states like Massachusetts and Vermont also adjust the speed threshold prevailing operating speed. Since the 39 miles per hour is higher than the 35 miles per hour, so with that, we are proposing CRS on this segment.
All right, E.
Yeah.
I just wanted to cover the next few questions for you, so you don't have to read them.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So the next question/point that was emailed was that the U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration, document number FHWA-SA-16-115 recommends CLRS or mumble strips not to be installed on roads where the majority of the residences are within 650 feet of the roadway.
Yeah. So this document, we did take a look at that. This document was written in 2016. The guidance that references 650-foot distance originally actually comes from 2001 Canadian study. The design of the rumble strips it studied is almost identical to what city DOT uses on the shoulder rumble strips on limited access highways. So over the past decade, the design and the spec of both the CRS and the shoulder rumble strips have significantly changed. Centerline rumble strips has a shallower cut to intentionally reduce ambient noise. The sinusoidal waving design is quieter than when the CRS were originally installed. Connecticut has been using the 100-feet buffer for many years. Additionally, this section of Route 317 is sparsely populated, with the vast majority of homes over 100 feet away from the road. Implementation of CRS or mumble strips are in direct conflict with the state's and the town's own goals for conservation and habitat protection. So this is the fourth question. Goodhill Road bisects approximately 1,000 acres of protected conservation land and wetlands areas, and there may be increased.
Just one second, real quick. Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Blash with DOT. We have a couple of other questions that have started coming in, so I think we're going to start going through those And then we'll get back to these as well. But there's a couple that have come in addition to the emails that we've already seen. So we're gonna start going through a couple of those as well, just because we don't want them to pile up too much, and we do want everyone to know that we're going through these questions as we receive them into Q&A. So we're gonna start going through a couple of these and hopefully provide a little bit of clarification to everybody's concerns. So I'll let Shane go ahead and read the first one from Mr. Haggerty.
All right. Yep. So for the first question is from Mr. Haggerty. The question is, your guidelines slide shows installation on roads with a 35 mph speed limit. Route 317 in Roxbury is a posted speed limit of 30 miles per hour for its entirety, so that does not qualify.
So this question actually has been covered. So 30 miles per hour is the posted speed limit. However, the operation speed over there is 39 miles per hour, and this is the reason why we propose the Centerline rumble strips there.
Right. So he did already previously answer it, but just to reiterate and clarify, the guidance is essentially that, it's guidance, right? It's not set in stone. There are exceptions to rules, but it is a very good base point for us to start with. And then even though the posted speed limit is 30 miles per hour, you are very correct. The prevailing speed, or the operating speed, or the speed at which the majority of people are driving, is actually closer to 40 miles per hour. And so because of that, again, there is a bit of flexibility with the guidance. So that's kind of how we came up with this segment being eligible. Even though technically the posted speed limit, you're right, is not 35, it is 30. But again, the prevailing speed, or the speed at which people are traveling, is almost 40 miles an hour.
All right. So the next question we have is, how many head-on collisions have there been in Roxbury to Woodbury, where the CLRS is being proposed?
With the current data, I don't really think we have a head-on, but correct me, Shane. But we do have we mentioned we do have the 3 incidents crashes that involved vehicles crossing Centerline. And there is also another additional crashes that involves drivers being distracted. So this time maybe it's distracted and has this type of crashes, but next time it can be another one, even could lead to head-on, and cause usually those crashes can be severe injury led or fatal led.
Right. And just because, they haven't occurred yet, that isn't to say that it won't happen in the future. And again, this is a very cheap countermeasure that is proven to work. And so, if we can save a life from being impacted in the future, we would like to take this opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and I'd like to add on, actually, those 3 crashes we mentioned in the presentation are across the center line, and the others, there are actually another 7 additional roadway departure crashes that they departure the traveling from the right side. But again, the crashes are random incident. So this time the departures from right side. Next time, due to drowsy or distracting driving, maybe they were departure from the left side and goes to the opposite traveling, and possibly hit the vehicles traveling in the opposite direction.
All right, thank you. So this next question is from Mr. Haggerty. It's regarding the Yukon Crash Data Repository. He's asking he's saying that the Yukon Crash Data Repository does not have a setting to capture an incident where a vehicle has crossed the center line. And how do you determine the risk profile of the roadway, and what are the criteria to consider a road dangerous and requiring your installation of CLRS?
For what we can see from using the same repository, we can see if the crashes is crossing the center line or the edge line through the diagram.
Right. So we do have a crash diagram that we're able to view, and based on that, it clarifies whether or not the person drove over the edge line or the center line. And so, we were able to parse that information out. And then as for the rest of the question, the risk profile of the roadway and the criteria to consider installation of CLRS, again, that's primarily based on the guidance for installation, the items that you mentioned, including the roadway width and the prevailing speeds or operating speeds, posted speeds, the volume of the roadway, all that kind of stuff. And then once we get that, we look at the residential density of the roadway. And then, we also look at the crashes as well.
All right, thank you for the answer. The next question we have is from Patrick Roy. He's asking, why are CLRs being considered on 317 when the speed limit on the entire road is 30 miles per hour? I believe this was already covered.
Yeah.
So I'll go on to the next question. This one is from, sorry, I can't pronounce the name very well, so I'll just read the question.
Valeri.
Yeah, thank you, Balash. So of the 3 accidents in 5 years, how many were serious as for property damage to more than 1 car injury? So I think she's just asking if or the type of injury crash related to this segment.
Yeah, so 2 of those are injury related, and the other one is property damage. But again, crashes are a random incident. So just to keep in mind, even CRS over there is just to save 1 life or keep 1 crash from happening. It pays for yourself.
Right. I think, if you look at the cost, opportunity cost, I guess, of a crash and then the cost of installing this rumble strip, 1 crash, even if it's just a fender bender, essentially. I mean, the time it takes for police or responders to come out and everything. And that's just if it's, a small crash. If it ends up being a more serious one where somebody's injured, the cost of that is exponentially more expensive than this countermeasure.
Yep.
Thank you. So the next question is from Mr. Smoliga. It says, what were the weather conditions during the 3 crashes? I don't know if we have that on hand. You could correct me if I'm wrong, but if we don't, we can get back to you with that response.
Yeah, but I don't believe we have this right now at hand. But I do want to point out Centerline rumble strips is going to reduce crashes in any kind of weather conditions, but it will even help more during the adverse weather conditions.
Right. So, I mean, if you think of, when it was snowing just last week, right? Or I guess earlier this week, technically. If you had a centerline rumble strip in the middle of the roadway and you were drifting out of your lane, but you couldn't see the pavement marking because it was obstructed by the snow, you would feel the vibration and it would let you know that, oh no, like I'm drifting out of my lane, I need to get back into it. So even though you wouldn't be able to see the pavement marking, the center line or the edge line, having the center line rumble strip there would actually be an additional, guidance.
Guidance, yeah.
Right. Keep you in the lane.
Yeah, or during fog, your visibility is even lower, right?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So this next question is from Mrs. Tester. It says that the information provided by the state of CT does not seem to be thorough. I'm concerned about the lack of concern for the environmental impact this will have on the Roxbury Land Trust protected lands and the habitat.
I believe in the email questions, we do have a similar concern. So yeah, we will work with our environmental unit to ensure all necessary precautions are taken to mitigate this concern if this location will end up getting the CRS. Additionally, the road has a volume of 2,400 vehicles per day, so only few vehicles may drive across the center line. When the tires contact the rumble strips, it's expected that the drivers will be alerted by the sound and go back to their lane in a minimal time. And the sound will also be there only for a second or two at most. Again, I just want to reiterate this. It's very important to keep in mind that that noise will only happen if people are driving over the center line, which means they are crossing the center line and need to go back to their own lane, so they don't hit any vehicles traveling in the opposite direction. And there's no way for us to know how many close calls or near misses there are. Anytime a driver hears the noise, it reinforces the fact that they are not staying in their lane. And that's why we are proposing this safety countermeasure, just to give the drivers a chance to self-correct them before something serious happens.
Right. And the other thing I would like to add to that is that with regards to the environmental impact, again, we are going to reach out to the environmental group if we pursue this. But, the important thing here is that we are taking your questions, we're taking your concerns, and we're taking everything into account prior to us making the decision. So, while our intention is, yes, to propose the Centerline rumble strips, and, we hope that we can convince everybody that is a good, a good thing for the town. And the users of the roadway, because that's our main concern, is everybody's safety, right? Getting to and from work and home safely. We do take all of this into account. So, please don't think that this is set in stone. Today's meeting is specifically to discuss your concerns and take them into account before, we move forward with anything.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the next question is from Mr. Haggerty. It's about the number of fatalities and the DUI incidents and commercial vehicle crashes. So we've answered this question already, so we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah.
The next question is from Mrs. Valeri. It's asking about where were the accidents, and she mentioned that if they were at the intersections around the curve.
So those three crashes we mentioned, they are all on the road segments that are not at the intersections. So essentially, there will be the places where we are proposing CRS, and CRS will actually help.
Right. And the other thing is, this was mentioned in our presentation, but just to clarify, if there is an intersection with Route 317, right? So if it's a location where you'd be turning onto a side street, we're not installing centerline rumble strips there. There's going to be a break in the centerline rumble strips so that if people are turning into their, the road that they live on or cutting through a road, and they're making that maneuver to turn left, they're not crossing the center line at that time. So there is not going to be center line at the intersections.
Thank you. So the next question is from Mrs. Tester. And she's asking, or she's saying that the road is not 30 miles per hour, or 30 miles per hour, not 35. So this has been covered already. The next question is from Pamela Southworth. She's asking about the proximity of the houses to the road. She states that her house is approximately 40 to 50 feet from the edge of the road. So if you just want to go into how we show the distance.
Yeah, so Mrs. Southworth, I don't know where's your house, but when we do the CRS screening for this segment, we look into the majority of the residents' houses along the road to make sure the majority of those are actually 100, at least 100 feet back from the road, and they are far between. So I believe what we saw previously, it's like there were 4 houses that are within the 100 feet from the road, but the rest are all beyond the 100 feet.
Right. So again, when we're looking at the residential density, we're looking at how densely populated the roadway is, because we don't want it to, inconvenience the people who live in the area. But we also look at, as we talked about, how far away from the roadway they are. And again, the very vast majority of the homes are over that 100-foot threshold. Many are, 200 to 300 feet away. And there are, again, over, I think, it's over a mile of roadway, right? And only 4 houses are within 100 feet of the roadway. So, again, just to reiterate this again and hopefully really drive the point home, you will only be hearing these rumble strips if people are leaving their lane. And if they're leaving their lane, then they're doing their job, right? If everyone's driving the way that they're supposed to drive, not distracted, staying within the travel lane, then this won't be a concern because people won't be doing it.
Yeah.
But
Thank
as far as, the number of houses, we can look into this further. But again, we did look at it preliminarily, and those were our findings.
Yeah.
Thank you, Balaj. So this next question slash point is addressing if it's saying if the reduction of the crashes is, I guess, sorry, I'm trying to word this better, but the reduction of these crashes, very limited number of crashes, is not much compared to the noise pollution residents in a very quiet rural area are being subjected to every day with no benefit to them.
Yeah, so again, this road has on average 2,400 vehicles per day traffic volume, and again, only when someone is driving over the center line, then you will hear those noise. It's not like just like Blush just said, if everyone is driving as how they supposed to drive, then you shouldn't hear those at all.
Right. And I mean, even if these do get triggered, right, someone does drive over it, right, you're driving over it, you're going to want to correct so that you don't hear it as a driver. So that means that the amount of time that this is going to be happening or the noise is even going to be made is going to be a second or two at most, right? Because everyone's going to be correcting. And again, because the roadway volume on this road is very low, it's 2,400 vehicles a day on average, there's not a whole lot of opportunities for people to drive over the rumble strips in general. And
Right.
also, this is another section of Roxbury has Centerline rumble strips as well as I believe all of the towns surrounding it as well. And so again, it's even though this is a rural area, there are many other rural areas that also have received Centerline rumble strips over the past few years.
Yeah.
With the benefit primarily being a safety benefit.
Yeah.
The next point is from Kim Tester. She's saying that this is not a limited access highway, and you are correct.
Yes, you're correct. And we'll install centerline rumble strips on those secondary roadways, not the edge line strips.
The next question from Christopher Haggerty is mentioning that the guidance from the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration overview of current and successful installation practices states the CLRS should be installed in 40 to 60 mile per hour zones because the CLRS are ineffective at lower speeds. Mumble strips only provide a 4 to 6 decibel increase inside the vehicle, while the recommended goal inside the vehicle is 6 to 15 decibels.
So again, we are actually those are just guidance. It's not like set stone. Like when we do our CRS screenings, every time actually, including the surrounding state, we adopt and practice differently. So City DOT has been using 100 feet and all those criteria mentioned, the 35 miles per hour for posted speed limit, but in this case, because of the prevailing speed is higher, so we go with the prevailing speed. So every state adopt and practice differently. So I hope this can be understood.
All right. So the next question that we have is the rumble strip on 67 in Roxbury has been installed for a year or more. Have crashes reduced, or have they in fact increased since the rumble strips have been installed?
I think it's been just like even less than a year since it's been installed. So with such a short time period, we don't really have crash reduction study over there. We will need more time to get enough data, and then we will look into those. But as mentioned in the presentation, in at some places, areas where we install the Centerline rumble strips, we do see a 20% decrease in crash for the places where we install the Centerline rumble strips.
Right. So because it's such a new countermeasure on 67 in Roxbury, we don't have enough data to compare the before and after, right? Typically, we use at least 3 years of crashes, sometimes 5 years of crashes to compare to see, what the results are. Is this something that actually helped or not? Again, this has been done on a statewide level, but specifically in Roxbury, we can't really do it yet, just because without getting into the nitty gritty of it, but between by the time it takes for a crash to take place, it to go into the system by the local police, and then the data to get parsed, cleaned up, QA, QC, and everything, and then go into the repository. It takes a lot of time. On top of the fact that this is a new section of roadway, Route 67, that has it. So again, we just don't have enough answer. But both on a federal and a statewide level, it has been shown to reduce crashes.
Thank you. So Pamela Southworth had asked a question. She wanted to see if she was asking if rumble strips would address the speeding issue, or she's saying that they would not address the speeding issue. And so I guess if you guys could comment on that.
So rumble strips is not designed to address the speeding issue, but like every time when you go over the rumble strips, as a driver, you're supposed to slow down and correct yourself. So it doesn't mean you won't bring your speed down.
Right. If the speeding is the primary issue, which, again, we used it as justification for proposing it. But if speeding is the issue, that's unfortunately not something that we necessarily can fix through engineering. That's going to be more of an enforcement issue. Because most of the time it is people local to the area who are doing the speeding. And again, we can put up as many signs or, other geometric changes to the roadway or whatever that we want. But we cannot force people to slow down. So at the end of the day, speeding is primarily, unfortunately, an enforcement issue and kind of out of our hands.
Thank you. So the next point is from Christopher Haggerty. He mentions that we have testified in previous Q&A sessions that the state does not install CLRS in zones where the posted speed limit is below 35 miles per hour, specifically the one you did in January for Farmington.
Right. So we did, we kind of touched on the 30, 35 mile per hour difference earlier, but I do want to mention that even since that meeting, and the benefit of the installation of Centerline rumble strips, we do have more communities in general asking for rumble strips. And so, sections of roadway that were maybe previously not eligible for its installation because of the 35 mile per hour posted speed limit threshold. Again, we are now using the operating speeds, or considering the operating speeds at least, to kind of, make more sections of roadway eligible for installation. And again, that is partially a direct result of towns asking for additional CLRS.
Mm-hmm. The next question we have is from Candida Valeri. She's saying that the road departure accidents would not have been prevented by CLRS. She mentions that the road is hilly and curvy with tricky intersections, animals crossing in front of drivers, and CLRS would not prevent such accidents.
Yeah, Flash, you can answer this.
Yeah, again, just we're kind of getting, I think, maybe to the point of repeating ourselves a little bit, and that's fine. Some of these questions came in, like this particular one came in 20 minutes ago, so I'm sure we've spoken about some of the items that have come in as they have come in, but we are taking a proactive approach to prevent head-on crashes. So I do want to just clarify that just because the crashes haven't been there, it doesn't mean that we're not that this won't help in the future.
Right. I also want to add on, if this is like imagine a crash is just due to uh, adverse weather caused low visibility and or drowsy or distracting drivers, those will be corrected. And we do have a research and study shows it's a proven countermeasure to reduce those type of crashes.
Thank you, E. So these next two questions from Pamela Southworth. One is saying that leaving the road to the right will not be resolved by center lines, and she's asking about the speeding. And then the second one is asking about the proximity of the road to her house. Both of these questions we have answered, so I'll move on to the next one. The next one is from Candida Valeri. She mentions that, are you saying that CRS would help during this week's blizzard? How deep are they? And if they are like the ones currently in existence?
So again, these are mumble strips or sinusoidal wavy rumble strips, so the quieter version, not the one that we're so the one actually in Roxbury that's currently installed is the same type. Some of the older ones that were installed years and years ago were a louder version of it. And again, that's just a testament to how some of the designs and technology for installing them has changed over time, as well as the research that's been done more recently. I believe, off the top of my head, I believe they are 7/16 of an inch deep. And again, it's a sine wave or a sinusoidal wave. So that's the deepest point of it. But again, as far as would they help in a blizzard, I mean, you still would feel it if you ran over it. And the rumble strips are there to remind you, or whoever it is, that they're crossing the center line in the event of a poor weather condition. Same with rain, like we have today. It will help to hopefully keep people in the lane in addition to the pavement markings.
Again, the fact that even it just saves one life or prevent one crashes in any of the occasions, it pays for yourself.
Thank you, E. So this next question is from Christopher Haggerty. He's asking if we're going to address the environmental concerns and that DOT has submitted an NDDB state listed species review to DEEP for the segment of Route 317. And he also asks, has the Office of Environmental Planning conducted an acoustic impact analysis to determine if the impulsive noise from milled rumble strips will degrade the 1,000 acres of deeded habitat?
We touched on this a little bit earlier, but again, we are still in the design process. Nothing is set in stone, right? That's why we're having this meeting. So if we determine that we will pursue this segment of roadway for Centerline rumble strip installation, then the concerns can be brought to environmental to go through the typical process, and that discussion or that decision will that will be in their office, just because they're the experts at something like this. We're the engineers, that's kind of out of our wheelhouse, but those steps will be taken if this segment of roadway is going to receive this countermeasure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The next question is from Kim Tester, and it asks, is it difficult to not cross the center line along the uphill or downhill area on 317 where the road switches back onto those curves? This is especially true of larger trucks that cannot stay in their lane due to the width of the road compared to the width of the vehicle. Have you actually measured the 14 feet distance as required by your requirements?
We do look into the roadways of this segment, and there are some parts of really short segments are maybe fewer than 14 feet, but the majority are actually meet our criteria. So, and again, we also look into the residents' in vicinity along the segments and found the majority of the residents far between and far back from the road. We're really not expecting a lot of vehicles or trucks crossing, driving over the center line. Even there, that happens, as mentioned previously, there will be just 1 second, 2 seconds, and the driver is supposed to self-correct them.
Right. So just to add to that, we do have GIS and a lot of different asset layers within GIS that has a lot of metadata information regarding things like roadway volume speeds, as well as the lane width.
Thank you, Balaj.
Mhm.
So this next question is from David Hyman. He's asking about the location of the rumble strips that we're proposing, and he's asking if it enters into the downtown historic district.
Yeah, would you be able to real quickly go back to the map just showing?
Oh, sorry.
No
Yeah.
worries.
Um,
Right. So the proposed rumble strips, I mean, we did look at the website and I think we coordinated a little bit with the historic, I'm sorry, I forgot what the exact name of the group is, but essentially the folks from the historic district um about this, and they have confirmed that what we are proposing in terms of the CLRS is currently outside of the historic district, and this was something that we discussed with the town as well as them during the installation of the Route 67 Centerline rumble strips, because when we had the public information meeting for that, we weren't aware of the historic district at that time. So we did propose it there. And then once we had the conversations with the town and everybody, we were able to amend the extents so that we avoided the historic district. And so we did take that into consideration and account this time around.
yeah.
Thank you. So this next question is from Kim Tester. She's concerned about our group with guessing why people may be crossing the centerline rumble strips.
So we do have a data on pulling from the police officers' reports indicating if this is distracting, drowsy, those kind of contributing factors. So it's not a guess.
Right. We're proposing the facts, or not proposing, I'm sorry, we're presenting the facts in the way that they're presented to us. And again, we have the repository as well as, a handful of other tools at our disposal. Um, so again, we do check all of this information prior to the presentations and prior to even proposing rumble strips.
Yeah.
Thank you. So this next question is from Mr. Haggerty, and he's asking about the guidance. He's saying, what guidance are we using if we're not following the DOT FHA recommendations? This question has already been answered, so I'll move on to the next one. All right. This is a longer comment, but it mentions that her home is 500 feet from Route 67, and you can hear the noise from the road on a regular basis inside your home. And she's asking if residents with smaller/older homes closer to the road will hear it even louder. There's more to the question. This is a longer question, so we'll come back to you guys we'll come back to you with a response if you would like to email that to us. So this next question we have is from Mr. Haggerty. He says, you say you do not have enough data to support the installation you made on Route 67, and you know that the Yukon repository is showing 0 serious crashes, yet you are moving forward on a road with a lower speed limit and a marginal number of ADT, traffic over the 2000 specification. Why would you not choose alternative solutions such as enhanced signage, high friction surface treatment, and curves or restriping with highly reflective recess markers?
So I don't want to go too deep into the Route 67 case, but I do want to point out on Route 67 there are serious injuries and even fatal crashes. Um,
So yeah, I guess some of the proposals or alternative solutions that are being proposed, may be appropriate here. I mean, we haven't looked into it just because this project is specifically limited to centerline rumble strips. It's a paving project, and with the paving that's being done, it gives us a chance, again, because the pavement age is one of the considerations that we have to take into account, right? It's going to be fresh pavement. This is our chance to install centerline rumble strips on fresh pavement, which is why it hasn't been proposed before. But again, the extent of this project is just limited to whether or not the centerline rumble strips are going to be included or not The other alternative solutions that are being proposed would not be a part of this project, which is not to say that they can't be pursued. They just, again, as part of this meeting, it's not part of the project scope.
Mhm.
Thank you, Balaj. So this next question we have from Christopher Haggerty again. He mentions what other opportunities will we have to review your research and how are you going about this decision? What methods are you providing to the following this project? And will there be additional opportunities to hear your updated research?
Blush, do you want to answer this? I don't really have a timeline.
Let me just read through it again real quick. Will we have to review your research? I mean, again, primarily what we're going to be doing is once we have this meeting, we're gonna um, take all of the comments into account. We will then reach out to the town, primarily the local traffic authority, and reconvene with them, and let them know how the meeting went, as well as they'll be able to see how it went, obviously. So it's not really, I guess it's not really research that we're doing. This is the outreach portion of the project, right? Again, it's a paving project, and we're kind of a support unit in this project because we're not doing the paving ourselves. We're just proposing or not proposing the Centerline rumble strips. So again, we're going to primarily reconvene with the town after we've had a chance to get the comments. And again, just to reiterate, there is a 2-week comment period after tonight. So if there are other things that come up that people forgot to mention today or want to bring up as later, there is a 2-week period for additional comments and concerns to be brought to us. So after that time, we will then again reconvene with the town and then come to a final decision.
Thank you, Balaj. So this next question is from Pamela Southworth, and she was asking if houses below the 100-foot buffer could be discluded.
Yep, and we can look into that on a case by case
Yeah, we
basis.
can look into that.
All right, thank you. And then Mr. Haggerty, if you'd like to ask the question again, sorry, I'm missing this, but I don't have the full question where I can ask them. So if you want to ask that in a second, go ahead. I'll comment about John and Smoliga's next. So John Smoliga's question is, according to your statistics over a 5-year period, the percentage of vehicles involved in a head-on collision is 0.0001%, and he's mentioning that he does not see a need for CLRS.
Yeah, again, so this is CRS is not only that we can reduce crash for head-ons, we can also reduce crashes on side swipe, opposite directions, and roadway departure crashes, meaning like when vehicles even depart their lanes from the left and reach to even the other side of the road off-road. Also, I want to mention again, so this is a proactive treatment. We also don't know any near misses or close calls. Previously, those could be near misses, and next time we don't really know if that will happen or not. It could happen, and even the centerline rumble strips can just save one life or prevent one crashes like that from happening. We'd be happy to see that.
Right. So yeah, thank you for the comment. But again, there are other crashes that it can help with. And so even if it's not a head-on collision, which essentially is the worst kind you can have, right? When the two cars collide in a head-on collision, the chance of survival is much lower than other types. But again, there are leaving the roadway, distracted driving, and a bunch of other crash types that this can help with. Again, just because we know how much of an epidemic essentially distracted driving is, this should help with that. Even if a crash doesn't happen, right? Because now it's in place. Someone has returned to their travel lane. That would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we are running low on questions right now. I just wanted to say as a reminder that you can contact us by email at dot2026 clrs-roxbury@sct.gov or by phone at 860-594-2020, and you can leave a message with your question. Once again, the project webpage is portal.ct.gov /dot 2026 clrs-roxbury. And the project email address is dot2026clrs-roxbury@ct.gov. And we do encourage you to fill out this survey. I'll link it in the chat and then I'll get back to the questions. All right, so from Mr. Haggerty, he's asking exactly whose guidance are you following if you say you are not following the DOT FHA recommendations? If you want to take
So
that, Blush.
sure, yeah. So no, we are following FHWA guidance, but again, it's just that, it's just guidance. It's limited to guidance, and it's federal highway, but we're a state entity. So, what may apply in a different state like Montana or California may not necessarily apply here as well. So again, we have been doing it this way for a number of years. We have had extremely limited feedback in terms of negative feedback after CLRS is installed in towns. And again, we have had out of the 169 towns, I believe we're at over 150 or 160 towns that have already had it. So, this is very prevalent and will hopefully become more prevalent in the state as time goes on, as roads get repaved and they become eligible for its installation. But again, going back to the guidance, it's just guidance, right? So we're taking a proactive approach. We're taking everything with a grain of salt. But again, we are also um, keeping in mind all of the things we talked about tonight, such as the residential density, such as the characteristics of the roadway as well as the surrounding area before we make a decision. And again, we are having this meeting to get input from everybody. I see that there's a follow-up question from Mr. Haggerty about how many states with 30-mile-per-hour speed limits we've installed CLRS on. Off the top of my head, I do not know. We can look into that and get back to you. But, at this exact moment, I'm not entirely sure. But we are, again, as we move forward, we're going to be adding more.
Thank you, Balaj. All right. And I just want to remind and encourage everyone to participate in the brief survey at the link in the project webpage, link below. I'll give some time to see if there's any more questions. All right, so it looks like there's no more questions coming in chat. So I'd just like to thank you all for joining us for this evening. And I want to remind everyone that the comment period is open through March 19th. Questions can be sent to us at the project email at dot2026clrs-roxbury@ct.gov or by phone at 860-594-2020. Oh, sorry guys, I didn't see the comment right there. So there's a comment from the first select woman, Kim Tester. She mentions that she appreciates our role in this process and it is important to us that you listen to us and respond to our concerns. So I'd like to thank you for that comment. All right. So once again, I'll thank you guys for joining us this evening, and I'd like to remind everyone that the comment period is open through March 19th. Questions can be sent to us at dot2026clrs-roxbury@ct.gov or by phone at 860-594-2020. Please visit our project webpage at portal.ct.gov/dot2026clrs-roxbury, where you can find copies of the plans and a link to the brief survey. And again, I encourage everyone to fill this out. Thank you once again for your time and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you.